Life of Ariella Bell by Allie Hickerson. Ariella was born in Linkovo, Lithuania on April 4th, 1922. She made it to the 7th grade, the same year she met her husband, Tane Bell. They later got married when she was 16 years old. She had her son Asher when she was 17 and later had her daughter Ivy. Her and her husband ran a small grocery store near their 2-bedroom house. In 1939, harsh restrictions were put on the Jewish families. The Bells were forced to give up their grocery store to Christians that lived in the area. They were given curfews and could only reach markets when there was nothing left to buy. Prices for groceries such as sugar and butter skyrocketed. Ariella's son Asher was prohibited from public school, and the whole city was angry and frustrated. Most of their anger was taken out on families like the Bells. They were segregated from society completely. The pressure came from Germany producing more goods than can be sold, and Germany borrowing money from the United States to pay off the Allies, while the Allies controlled the United States' money. The people were desperate to find a solution. That solution was a ruthless dictator named Adolf Hitler. Hitler convinced Germany they needed living space for the superior race by taking out Jews, Slavic people, gypsies, homosexuals, homeless, and other inferior races. Between 1939 and 1941, the Nazi regime started killing people they found inferior. In the middle of the night, in February of 1943, the Bell House was raided by Nazi soldiers. They were strip-searched and forced on overcrowded cattle cars. Once on the cattle cars, they were frozen from the winter's cold breeze and starved with no food or water for days, and they only had 2 buckets per cattle car to use as a restroom. This is a picture of people they found inferior, and these are the Nazis taking them out of their homes and putting them on cattle cars to be sent to concentration camps or killed. By the time the cattle cars stopped, they had been on for 3 days and ended up in Poland. Ariella's daughter Ivy was just 2 years old and was barely alive. The Nazi soldiers forced everyone off of the cattle cars and lined them up to be counted. Many young children and the elderly did not survive the trip. Everyone was counted and given a number as their new name. The young children and others not fit to work in the camps were taken to the showers, or gas chambers. This is a picture of soldiers looking at people that have been cremated. This is a picture of people getting off cattle cars and being counted for their new camp. Ariella refused to leave her children Asher and Ivy behind, but was beaten and separated from her family. Ariella, being a very beautiful woman, was forced to become a prostitute for the Nazi soldiers. She was beaten daily and only allowed out for a few hours a day. That's when she saw her husband, who was forced to work in the concentration camp. He was bone thin, shaved bald, and forced to wear a gray jumpsuit with the number 1278 on it. She tried to talk to him while he was working, and they both were beaten. Ariella's face was completely bruised and her ribs were broken. Her husband wasn't so lucky. She was forced to watch as he was carried away and put on a stack of other ghostly-looking bodies. This is the Nazi soldiers, and these are the dead bodies from people in camp. With Tane dead, Ariella had no reason to live. She became a ghost like everyone else. She was later moved and forced to work in the gas chambers, where she saw hundreds killed at a time with carbon monoxide gases. She couldn't help but wonder if this is what happened to her children, Asher and Ivy, but she could only hope that they were still out there somewhere. This is a picture of the gas chambers used on camp. On another brutally cold day in September in 1945, Ariella was getting ready for another day of work when strange-looking soldiers invaded the camp. Everyone began hiding in their tiny bunkers. Little did they know that they were there to save them. The soldiers were shocked by the amount of dead bodies lying around everywhere, and the few who did survive were suffering from diseases and malnutrition. This is a picture of the dead bodies in camp, and these are the soldiers. After the survivors were rescued, they realized what seemed like one huge nightmare was real. Many families were separated and killed. Ariella later found out her children, Asher and Ivy, were killed in gas chambers. Ariella was one of 10% to survive the harsh conditions of the concentration camp called Auschwitz, in which 2 million people were murdered. This is a picture of the camp, and this is my works cited page.